Selecting a home is one of the most significant decisions you will make in your house buying process, and the critical aspect of this decision lies in the choice between a new or an old build. What I mean by old build, I mean pre-existing houses. Now, an old build can be a house that is just 1 year old, and let's say the owner lived in it for like 1 year and is ready to move on to another property. That will still be considered an old because someone have lived in the property. So when I mean new build, I mean house that no one has lived in, like a brand new house. And when I mean old build, I mean houses that they've been lived in before, they're pre-existing. So I just thought to clarify what I will be referring to as new build and old build or pre-existing in this video, so that we're on the same page as I go along in the video. Now, this video will discuss the benefits and drawbacks of newer and older houses to provide valuable information to anyone planning to purchase a property here in the UK. Towards the end of the video, I will review which type of house we ultimately chose and the reasons behind our decision. Before I delve into the video, tell me in the comment section what factors influenced your decision when choosing between a new build and a pre-existing house if you've bought a house here in the UK or anywhere else in the world. And if you've not bought a house yet, tell me what factors you think would influence your decision when it comes to choosing if you will buy a new build or a pre-existing house. Now, to ensure that the video flows smoothly, I would begin by discussing the pros and cons of purchasing new builds. Following that, I will do the same for pre-existing homes. Then I will disclose the option we selected and the rationale behind our choice, and share my thoughts on choosing between new or old builds here in the UK. With that said, let's start by talking about the advantages of new builds. Now, the first advantage of buying a new build property is energy efficiency. With the advancements in construction materials and techniques, new builds tend to be more energy efficient compared to some older houses, resulting in reduced utility costs and a smaller environmental footprint, which will make our planet better. Now, for energy efficiency, there are some pre-existing houses that are also energy efficient. Like I mentioned earlier on in this video, if the house was built in recent years and the owner of the property just wants to move on from that property and wants to sell the property, unless the property is like a couple of years old, let's say 2 or 3 years, the property will still be energy efficient. So what matters is how old the building has been in existence for. So if it's recently built, it will be energy efficient, but if it's like hundreds of years old, it probably will not be energy efficient. The second advantage is modern amenities. Now, new builds often comes equipped with state-of-the-art amenities and the latest technology, providing residents with contemporary and comfortable living environments. With new builds, you'll be able to get like modern appliances like your dishwasher, your washing machine. You can get like the latest version of those appliances. This does not mean that if you move to an old building, you will not be able to get that. You can always replace the appliances in the old house with new ones. But just that with new builds, all these modern appliances come with the purchase price depending on which kind of new build you're buying. Number 3 is aesthetics. Since your house is new, you won't require any major house renovation projects like you would with an older property. More so, if you are buying a new house, you may have the chance to customize your new house. Depending on the building stage of the house when you purchase it, you can choose your kitchen tiles, your kitchen cabinets, your flooring, if flooring is included with the purchase price. You can also choose if you want open floor plans, like some developers would offer that option to you, so that when you move into your house, you don't need to do that, like make it open floor plan if you want it open floor plan. But again, it all depends on the stage in which you buy the house at. So if you buy when it's just at roofing stage, you might be able to make all those changes in the house. But if you buy the property when they're done roofing, they're done with the flooring, they're done with all of that, you might be limited with the changes you can make to the house. Likewise, new houses are like a blank canvas, so you can decorate to your taste. You don't have to try to see beyond what the previous owner of the house was trying to do with the house to try to customize it to your taste. No, you would be the first person to live in the house, so you can decorate it to your taste. You can paint the walls to your taste. You know, the walls will be freshly painted. The house will look clean. The carpets will be fresh and brand new. And you'll be the first person living in the property, like it's Ochara. Also, the estate environment where the new house is located would be aesthetically pleasing, as every house in that estate would be new if you're buying in a new development, if you're not just buying a new house in an old development. I don't know if you get what I mean. Now, the fourth advantage is warranty protection. You know, many new builds here in the UK come with a 10-year NHBC warranty, offering homeowners a sense of security and financial protection against structural issues or defects that may arise within a specific period that some old houses lack. Now, this brings me back to my previous point where I was talking about the length in which the old house or a house has been in existence for if you're not buying a new build. So let's say you're buying a house from someone who bought a new build, and that person only lived in that new build for 2 years. So you will still have the NHBC warranty left for 8 years, which will be transferred to you. So it just depends on the length in which the property you're buying has been in existence for. If you're buying an old build, you might be able to get the NHBC warranty with the old house you're buying. The fifth advantage of buying a new build is that you would have a swift purchase process. Now, if you're buying directly from a house builder, you won't risk getting stuck in a property chain. Therefore, the house purchasing process can be swift and less stressful. Now, this can be a good thing and this can also be a bad thing. I'll explain why it can be a disadvantage when I talk about the disadvantages of buying a new build. Now, the last but not the least advantage of buying a new build property is the incentives you get when you buy a new build property. With a new build, you can easily qualify for most UK government schemes like the first homes and shared ownership schemes, especially if you are a first-time buyer, and you can get incentives from real estate developers to reduce the upfront cost and make buying your home more financially visible. So here in the UK, some real estate developers would usually offer incentives in forms of deposit contribution, upgrades, stamp duty. They can pay for your legal fee and stuff like that. So if you're buying a new build, you can maximize all of those incentives developers would have to offer. So that's why it's very important you always negotiate, because if you don't ask for it or if you don't negotiate, some developers will not offer it to you. Now, if you want to know what UK government schemes are available to home buyers here in the UK, you can watch my video on house buying schemes for first-time buyers in the UK to find out more. I will link the video to this video for those who might be interested in watching it. Now, let's talk about the disadvantages of buying a new build. The first is higher initial costs. Now, the purchase price of a new build is typically higher than an older property because you are paying a premium price for a new build. I mean, you're paying for having a brand new property. You know, it can be a financial barrier that may deter some potential buyers. The second disadvantage is smaller rooms and gardens. Due to the increasing demand of urban houses, new builds often come with smaller outdoor and indoor spacing, you know, limiting the opportunity for socializing or hosting or gardening or having any outdoor or indoor activities. Likewise, some British people will say new built property usually have gardens that are, is it onlooking or overlooking, meaning that a lot of people can look into your garden from their properties. So I've had a lot of people here in the UK say they won't buy a new build because of that. They want to buy old because most old builds in the UK are built in a way that not a lot of people can look into your garden. So that can be a turn off for some people. But personally, I don't mind if everybody's getting into my garden because I really don't use the garden for anything. It's only during summer that we go outside and hang out and all of that. So yeah. The third disadvantage is limited characteristics. Now, new build may lack the architectural charm, history, and unique features that some older houses often possess, as they tend to follow modern trends. Now, if you're that kind of person that you like your house having history, some architectural charm, you know, having that historical architectural feel or look, you might not like new builds because, again, people here in the UK say new builds can be cold and soulless. I see where they are coming from, but it depends on the newbie property you're buying. You know, there are some newbie properties that still have character and are not cold and soulless. Personally, I like a mixture of modern design trends when it comes to houses and a little bit of architectural history or historical trends. I am not solely for historical trends or old designs and things like that. That's not my style in general. I think my taste or style when it comes to fashion, house, or anything is always contemporary, modern, and elegant. So if a house is contemporary, it's modern, and it's elegant, or clothes or anything, you have my attention. So maybe it's just my personal preference. The fourth disadvantage of buying a newbie property is that the purchase process can seem too fast and rushed. Now, I touched on this earlier on, that it can also be an advantage because you're not on the property ladder or chain, as they call it, where you're buying a house from somebody that is also selling and buying their house. You know, you are not on that kind of chain. But it can also seem too fast and rushed. I was even having this conversation with my husband, saying that I don't like how fast it can be, because once you say you want to buy a house and it's a new build here in the UK, the process goes pam 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 pam. Like, I don't know, they don't allow you take it in, or I don't know, maybe that's how the process is meant to be. In the comment section, let me know how swift or how slow your house buying process was, whether you bought a new build or a pre-existing house. So still on the fourth disadvantage, if you're buying a new build property, do your due diligence research about the house buying process, because it is going to be a swift purchase process. Likewise, you want to make sure that you have saved enough money to cover all the costs associated with buying a house, including the deposit, to avoid financial strain and stress. Now, if you are looking for ways to save for a deposit, you can watch my video on how we save for our house deposit as a first-time buyer here in the UK in 2 years. It will provide you some valuable insight on how to save for your house deposit fast. I'll link it to this video for those who would be interested in watching it. With that said, on newer properties, let's talk about old builds. So let's first talk about the advantages of old builds. Now, the first advantage is architectural character. Now, some older properties often boast unique architectural features and a sense of history, providing a distinctive charm that appeals to many homeowners that some new builds lack. Again, taking you back to my previous point when I was talking about architectural characteristics or features when it comes to new houses, some people in the UK believe that old houses are not as cold and soulless as new builds. The second advantage of buying a old or pre-existing building is that they have larger spaces. Some old builds, especially those more in the suburb or rural areas here in the UK, often come with larger gardens, indoor and outdoor space, you know, offering residents more space for recreation, socializing, hosting, gardening than some new builds would have. So some new builds here in the UK are usually small compared to older builds. The third advantage of buying a pre-existing property is established neighborhood. You know, older houses are frequently located in well-established neighborhoods with, you know, mature trees, local amenities, and a sense of community that might take years for new development to cultivate. You know, in a new development, all of you are new. You've not built traditions and stuff like that. Like here in the UK, some developments, they host like maybe summer parties or Halloween. They gather in like their garden area or their park area in their development, and, you know, do bonfire, or they do what do they call that thing, fireworks. Yeah, they do fireworks. So if you're the kind of person that likes having a sense of community and you don't mind being the new person on the streets, I think you should think about buying older properties. However, if you're a company that don't mind building from scratch, so you don't mind going to a new development, making new friends, you know, building new traditions together with your new friends, all of you are all new, trying to figure out how to live in the development together, then you can consider buying a new property. The fourth advantage is affordability. You might pay less money for an older house, considering that you are not paying the premium price that comes with a new build property, which will allow you to renovate the house to your preference, and, you know, you would be able to save more money to pay for the additional cost of buying a house here in the UK, or you can use it for furnishing or decorating the house to your taste. Now, if you want to know the additional cost that is associated to buying a house in the UK apart from the deposit, you can watch my my video on hidden costs of buying a house here in the UK. I'll link it to this video for those who are interested in watching that too. More so, the fact that old houses are more affordable could allow you to find a low value property and provide you with the opportunity of increasing the value of that property by fixing it up and then placing it back on the market, either to sell for a profit or as buy to let property. Now, if you have watched this video to this point, it means you find it valuable. So give this video a like and share it with someone who would also find the information in this video valuable. Now, let's talk about the disadvantages of buying an old build. Now, with everything that has an advantage comes a disadvantage. Now, the first disadvantage is maintenance costs. Older buildings may require frequent maintenance and repairs due to the aging or outdated infrastructure and system, potentially leading to higher ongoing costs. Some older properties may have outdated boilers or electrical and plumbing system that needs upgrading, which can be costly and time consuming. Nevertheless, outdated infrastructure and decor can be an advantage, as it will give you a leverage for negotiating a lower sales price on the property. Likewise, if you are someone up for the DIY challenge and renovating your house yourself, or you like renovating things, buying an older property is a good way for you to do that, because you can add value to the property by doing your DIY things and renovating. Now, the second disadvantage is energy efficiency. I think I touched on this point earlier on when I was talking about new builds. Now, older homes may be less energy efficient than new builds, resulting in higher utility bills and more significant environmental impacts. The last but not the least disadvantage is that the buying process is slow. There is usually a buying chain, which means that you can get stuck in a property chain, and the house purchase process can be slow and stressful. If you are buying a pre-existing house that is occupied, you have to wait for the tenants or people who are occupying the house, if they are the owners, to move out from the house and sort out their own living arrangements before you can move to that property. So you need to consider that. So that's what they call buying chain, where you're waiting for someone to move from that house before you can proceed, and someone is waiting for you, and like that. You can read about property chains here in the UK if you're interested to know more on how that works or what that is in more details. Now, let's talk about the option we chose and why we chose that. So we bought a newly built house to maximize the incentive real estate developers here in the UK have to offer to us. So I think I've mentioned this earlier in the video. Here in the UK, some real estate developer would offer incentives to encourage people to buy houses from them. Now, these real estate developers will typically offer incentives such as cashback, deposit contribution, payment of legal fees, stamp duty, or they'll give you a discount on the purchase price. We negotiated for a deposit contribution with our developer just to reduce our upfront cost and make buying our home more financially visible for us. Unfortunately, we received a 5% deposit contribution and a free kitchen upgrade with integrated appliances from our developer, which helped reduce the time required to save for our house deposit and the eating cost associated to buying a house here in the UK from 2.5 years to 2 years. Moreover, our developer's 5% deposit contribution allowed us to access better mortgage rates, as we could put down a higher deposit. Similarly, we were not interested in undertaking any major house renovation projects. So buying an old build was not an option for us. The new build we purchased was spacious, it had unique architectural characteristics, and it just suited our lifestyle. We so much liked the house we bought. Now let's talk about my last thought on this topic. In the decision-making process of choosing between a new house or a pre-existing house here in the UK, prospective homeowners must carefully weigh the advantages and the disadvantages of each option, keeping in mind their lifestyle and needs. Whether one values the modern conveniences of a new build or the timeless charm of an older home, the key lies in understanding personal preference, budget constraints, and long-term goals. By considering these factors, you can make an informed decision that aligns with your lifestyle and aspirations, ultimately ensuring a satisfying and fulfilling house ownership experience. With this, we've come to the end of the video. Kindly let me know in the comment section what other topics related to house ownership you would like me to make a video on. Bye for now, and thanks for watching.